Black, Winky Face, and Red Bolt. We were talking about this a little bit earlier before we actually went live. And yeah, Restless Black can have a little bit of a part to play in here, but they need to get their consistency up there ASAP.
Yeah, when you look at their times as well, for people who are curious as well, Trackmania.events, a very good website for that as well. You are able to look at everybody's times and compare them as well. If you compare the times with the two teams, Restless Black on paper have the pace, but they are always known for that. It is the fact that if they can actually legitimately put that on track as well, and we know that Kuda and Spark are one of those teams that, you know, once you make a mistake, they do not allow you to get as far as well. I wasn't able to catch the matches from the first day, so maybe you can comment on how, maybe if you were able to catch one of Antic's matches, if there was any, how their consistency was. But I expect good things. I expect good things.
Yeah, good. Honestly, I think we can expect good things from Antic as well, and a lot better than what they were a few months ago. For instance, trying to qualify for the world championship per se. In the meantime, we're gonna go straight into the picks and bans with Shia's being insta-ban. I pretty much expected this from the outset, as this is probably the hardest maps in the entire map pack here on AOPL. Simplicity is also going to be banned. That's a little bit more of an odd choice, in my opinion, as the map does live up to its name. It's probably the more straightforward map to actually get into if you're trying the AOPL pack for yourself. We got Agartha as first pick, which will be, of course, the opening map then on the side of Antic. Then Restless take Luminance as map number 2, which leave us, of course, with only 3 maps left to decide. 3-piece will be up next, and then it will be decider between Waiting and Candy Crush. Candy Crush. There we go. Okay,
There
Waiting
we
map
go.
4, Candy Crush map 5. There we go. Okay, interesting to leave Candy Crush for last, I would say. Waiting, I would wager, is maybe the harder map of the two, but yeah.
I honestly, I am a bit surprised as well, because it is something that, at least for Antic sides, they have never first picked Agartha as well. But I understand why they have actually, they even banned in the map on one of the occasions, I believe, against Trident Storm. But I understand the ban of Simplicity to some extent. If you compare the times, it does make sense, because it is one of the weaker maps compared to Restless Black, for example. Of course,
Mm.
is interesting. But if we do get to map 5, Candy Crush, at least on paper, looks to be very equal. On average, both of them have the exact same time on that map.
Oh,
So if we get to map 5, it's going to be a hell of a decider as well. So I'm looking forward to it. But we have to start off with map 1, my truly beloved, the map that I had to drive in the Baltic Trackmania Cup, Agartha. So I don't know this map in and out to much extreme. There is one subtle change from the previous iteration, but I still have an interesting relationship with this track.
well, I guess whenever we actually get into the live rounds, you can get more into it. Well, the live rounds are going to be starting in a few seconds time, about 30 seconds time. Red Bolt and Winky Face versus Kuda and Spark. Then this is your lineup for the first matchup of the day here on AOPL. And just before we get started, it is a good time to tell you that you can also check out the results from the previous day and also do the pick'em challenges on eCircuitMania.com. They have the results for all of the day 3 matches with a complete round by round time breakdown, which is probably one of my favorite things. You'll also be able to see the map pick and ban stats, the different map PBs, and all the stats per player and per team, which is absolutely super awesome. eCircuitMania.com. Go check it out. In the meantime, we're getting underway right here, right now. And Kriidy, I'm just going to let you do the honors and take us on Agartha for the first round.
Yeah, this is where it starts as well. Antic versus Restless Black, and we will get to see, of course, Agartha with already a very good start for Antic as they take the first helm of the lead with Winky Face hot on their tail as well. This outside third is very clinical as well. You can easily touch the outside third, but it's actually not as bad of a mistake. You do lose a bit of time, but it can be a lot worse. But at least for now, you can also get slid out on the ice like Winky Face, and it puts Restless Black in a predicament where they, well, Red Bolt has to pull out quite a bit of a miracle. And to be honest, on this track, after this point, there is not really much time you can gain, and because they have removed one of the parts here that where you could get a bit of time. And for the time being, I mean, yeah, and Red Bolt has a bit of a landing touch as well. I think this will be an ace for Antic, and not much to go by here. And and that's going to be a comfortable win, unless Kuda decides to make it a bit more interesting, but he is very far in front of the Restless Black members.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a squeaky bum time for Kuda, landing on the border with the right rear wheel, and that is going to be a PB for Spark according to the game. 102.125, around a second away from J-Swag's current record, which is a .181, 101.181, as you can see at the top left of your screen. But baby steps, baby steps. It's the first game of the day. We're slowly but surely warming up to it. Eventually, the pace will be coming back to the ballpark of about half a second away from the world record pace, as we usually tend to guesstimate around here. Kuda, unfortunately, will be the next one to hit the wall with the left rear in the dirt, so he will be dropping down to third. But Winkyface had an even more consequential mistake, as he currently finds himself 1.5 seconds down on his teammate, who managed to get ahead of Spark through the ice slide section. And now the two Antic Esports members, Kuda and Spark, are going to try to tandem this together, trying to catch up to Red Bolt, who himself is trying to make amends from the last round where he had a mistake very early on, which kind of condemned him to last place. Let's see if he does get a proper landing this time on the grass road. The answer is a yes, and he will be joined by Kuda, who's making a charge for the lead of the race. They're side by side at the split, coming onto the final checkpoint at the final corner. Winkyface a bit too far back, and Kuda goes for the proper line compared to Red Bull, who went a little bit more conservative, and that's a 102.067 for Kuda. But with Spark at the very last place, who had a mistake at the very end, allowing Winkyface to move up to third, we end up in a draw. So Restless get on the board, but not exactly maximizing the chance here.
Yeah, it's Agartha, at least when I had to drive it as well. It is a cruel mistress. It is mostly decided, well, before even that, as Kuda hits the wall there, you can get a very hot and risky on this track, and Red Bolt goes a bit too early into the dirt section. It is a very difficult, I think, to start the first like 20 to 25 seconds, including this ice. The first part of the track is pretty much what decides the map in itself in most regards. There can be some, interesting parts towards the end, but for the time being, at least, it will be Spark versus Winky in the front, and that is going to be the face-off. Unless Spark has a very awkward entry into this plastic wall ride, which doesn't seem to be, I think he's able to go out. Unless he gets a nose slide here. Not this time. Last round he did get it, so I mean, overall seems to be a comfortable win, and I feel like this will be another draw. Nothing to jinx here, so it should be pretty comfortable. I hope at least they are keeping an eye on the splits. You don't really need any heroics, and with a quick PB on the board as well, it will be another a draw, but it's a lot closer in the end than it should have been. I think it's almost 1/10 between Red Bolt and Kuda, but 5-2 on the board.
5-2 on the board. I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't help but cringe whenever you said, yeah, there's nothing to jinx here, when there's like one obvious line in the final corner which you can obviously mess up if you're not careful. But yeah, that's swings and roundabouts, and yeah, indeed another draw going the way of both teams. And this time Red Bull completely out of it, straight from the outset in turn 2. He encountered the wall and thus will be out of the running permanently. So far it will be Spark, Kuda, and Winkyface on that order. Through the ice slide we go, and it will be currently Spark having a slow ice slide exit, allowing Kuda to move up into the lead and Winkyface to follow along in his footsteps in second position. Spark relegated quite far down, actually, after that little incident on the ice slide exit, moving down almost a second compared to his teammate, as Winkyface is just left in the dust. Kuda trying to pull a little bit of a gap to give himself a little bit of room to breathe up front there, and so far so good. Currently 4/10 ahead of Winkyface, despite a bit of a sketchy landing at the jump to the penultimate checkpoint. And Kuda will take the win individually with Spark in third. It will be the win for Antic, who move on to map point number 1, a 101.891 for Kuda. Decent times, 3/10 ahead of Winkyface, who himself was half a second up on Spark. And Red Bull reaches the finish line, but some 6 seconds down.
Yeah, indeed, they are definitely going fast as well. We'll say, in the Baltic, with a slower track, we were able to do faster time. So come on, guys, we can do better. Come on, I know it's just the start of the day, but we can go faster. We can go faster. The thing is with this track is that it's just so easy to lose time here. Like you saw with the ice with Spark, if you do not nail that ice perfectly and get that angle down, you have to correct, you have to lose speed like Winky and Red Bull right now, and Auf Wiedersehen, Spark and Kuda are almost a second ahead of you, and it's all pretty much GG at this point, unless there's some bit of unfortune here. The only thing that can really be a cruel mistress, as I said, is can be this nose slide. For some reason, this platform block just wants to have some nose slides, but usually if you set up right, you should be perfectly fine. And with Red Bull trying his best to catch up, it looks to be that Antic, when it matters, first track point, they get their job done, and that is an ace on the board, 10-3 on the score. And with a track point to start off, they pick up their map to start off, and we get to move on to the next track. At least it's a good warm-up for everybody involved. I wouldn't pick Agartha as your first map to warm up on, but hey,
Yeah.
I'm not Antic, so that's their plan of attack, at least for today.
Yeah, their plan of attack. Maybe they're trying to get rid of this one. Well, this is a map where they were strong also in the last match of Antic that we casted with Max last week. So it doesn't really surprise me that we see it early in the game running, but it's maybe not this early. I was expecting that. But yeah, we're going to be heading on to Luminance up next, which will be a Restless Black pick. And yeah, I gotta say, just to quickly diverge onto the last round of Agartha, that was a very nice save from Winky facing the ice slide. He was basically having a micro slide out on the way up the hill in the ice slide corner, and he managed to save it before hitting the wall, managing to keep it on the road, although losing the best part of almost a second and a half in this particular section as a result of this. But I figured it was a good bit of driving that should be commended. So that was just me being impressed by maybe something that wasn't supposed to be impressive, but whatever. Hey, it's the morning, you know. You get to witness some good racing. It's all that matters, all right? Heading into map number 2, that is going to be Luminance. And yeah, this is a map that is also very interesting to watch. And yeah, let me try to pull some of my Milton real quick. There are some interesting parts, including that checkpoint 3 turn in the grass road part, which has a bit of an interesting setup because you go from the plastic onto the grass road. You can see it's a fast king, then it tightens somewhat to that sort of triple hander in the right before dropping down to the platform. And the drop down to the platform, you hit about 260 kph. Then around the same speed for that particular dirt jump where you angle the car. And also there are a lot of transitions there that you can clip without really paying attention to. For instance, that transition to the from platform to plastic or from convex platform to platform. These can be very easy sections where you can clip with the bottom of the car and lose a ton of time. This one is also pretty tricky to get through CP8, then onto the drop down platform, and a huge stopping from Red Bull. Kuda on the verge of hitting the outside wall with the right rear currently. Twinkie Face currently holding the lead of the race. Spark and Kuda regrouping together, tandeming this together hand in hand as we head through the final few embers of the track, the final few blocks before the jump into the finish through the triangle line. And it's going to be Winky Face taking the honors initially with a 58.718. Spark and Kuda second and third. Red Bull in P4. So it is a draw. Both teams 1 point on the board.
Yeah, it's definitely showing the fact that that is exactly what Restless Black can do. Like, if they get those rounds going, they can be quite fast indeed. And it shows that Winky Face's first round time is almost faster than Antic's average. So it already sets the pace trend for this track. And with Spark and Kuda already falling a bit behind Red Bull as well, Red Bull is the one that we have to keep an eye out as well, because he will be the clinical aspect of this track, because it seems that the Winky is getting into it and Spark is trying to chase him down. Winky has to release a bit in order to make the turn, so now hands over the lead over to Spark, but he's definitely got the better line here, going a lot more aggressive, trying to clips the checkpoint, keeps the trajectory going. Really tempting fate here, Winky, but he knows he needs to push. Oh, but just pixel clips the final corner, goes a bit too early there, and now allows Kuda to come in. Oh, but Kuda also with a pixel clip and allows Winky to get back into it. All of the bit of the shenanigans. Almost Red Bolt able to catch up to Kuda in the end as well. Antic takes the lead, but maybe not the way that they were expecting it to get there. But at least Spark holds on to first position and gets valuable points on the board.
Talk about plot twist in that round. Jeepers, in that final sector, more than delivered with that with first pixel clip, which actually worked well for Winky Face. I thought for sure, yeah, he's gonna get deviated at the CP, but no, he managed to keep it through. But then 2 pixel clips back to back that results in slowdown for both Kuda and Winky Face. Oh, Kuda, that was a really sketchy landing at the dirt, so he's gonna be relegated down to 3rd and even 4th place as Red Bolt manages to take advantage of the Indonesian's mistake to move up into 3rd place of himself. In the meantime, up front it will be Spark versus Winky Winky Face going through the middle sector, with Spark having about a 10th to a 10th and a half at an advantage compared to Winky Face, who carries a lot more speed through the plastic before heading into the grass for CP8, and now he's going to be right within the coattails of Spark's car, almost within the ghost of Spark, as a matter of fact, going onto the final sector with the final few corners up for grabs. Winky Face having a bit more speed, heading into those final few corners. Look at the speed and the line that he's able to carry through, moving up into the lead. Spark trying to retaliate, but it's not going to be enough, and Winky Face takes the lead and the win, despite a close line at the triangle jump. 58.828. It will be a draw that will allow Restless Black to keep themselves within 1 point of Antic.
Yeah, that is true, but I have noticed something about Winky Face's end line which might come to a bit of a detriment for him. He always goes a lot wider in that finish block, and we know when finishes are diagonal, they lend themselves to be sniped, and so far Winky Face's approach always sets him to go wide. So if Spark and Kuda are anywhere close to him, they can snipe him in the end, so you might want to keep an eye on that as well. That can come into play later on as well, because it can gain you a lot of time, and we've seen that so many times. You know, it is something that, you know, mappers do like to do, some diagonal finishes. It lends itself to some interesting maps, but it does lend itself to very many sniping moments as well. So Spark at the moment very close to Winky Face, and if he can keep a hold of this distance, maybe a bit closer, he could take advantage of that snipe. As you can see, Winky Face sets up wider, Spark wants to go a bit tighter, and the gap closes. You can see how much of a difference it can make. It's a 10th almost of a difference if he can get close enough. But Winky Face holds out for Restless Black, 5-4. If Red Bull could get into this, they could actually take the track.
Yeah, it's pretty much all eyes on Red Bull at this point, where he needs to actually pick up the pieces and try to make it a solid challenge for Restless Black versus Antic. Right now, they got the cards in hand. They really got everything they need to be able to challenge on pace-wise, but it's really down to the consistency of both teammates that it needs to actually get right on the ball. And right now, so far, Red Bull's managing to keep himself safe, not putting any mistakes so far. But oh, as I say that, of course, as I say that, the no slide kicks in for Red Bull, dropping him down to 4th perennially here, 1.8 seconds down. That's gotta hurt. In the meantime, his teammate Winky Face is having to do battle with Spark, who takes over the lead just before sector number 3. Let's see if the Australian can actually do something about the lead from Spark right here. Kuda left in the dust as well, with a bit of a slow landing in there. Now the final corner, Spark seems to have enough of the lead-up gap to be able to retain the lead ahead of Winky Face, and that is the case. Victory for Antic Esports with a 58.758 for Spark. Kuda in 3rd place. Map point number 2 on the cards there for Antic, but they do need to clean sweep the next round. They do need an ace.
Yeah, they do need an ace, and so far no real team has looked to really do that. I mean, Antic have looked the better part of getting an ace, but it always has been on the detriment that they have to catch up to Winky, who has an insane start to start off. He's just already flying away, and that is a perfect start. I was just looking at his POV. That was probably the best, the more perfect start I've seen so far of the track, and now everybody is trying to catch up. Though Spark has caught up to Winky so far. So again, we have a bit of a 2v2 at the front and the back, which has been the sort of the story of this track. Winky and Spark up front, Red Bull and Kuda up in, well, taking the rear end and giving us a good camera perspective as well of everybody in front, as you cannot even separate Winky and Spark from the front end, and Spark and Winky really trying to push it. And so is Red Bull as well. Red Bull has a better line than Kuda. Everybody's trying to push Spark and Winky. Winky has a lot more speed, but can he take it? He does! But Red Bull cannot overtake Kuda. Red Bull with a great round. Almost everybody gets a sub 59 apart from Red Bull. It's a very great race for that round, but not quite enough to get the point on the board. And the one round where Red Bull does great, then everybody does great.
Yeah, imagine you do a 58.0 and you end up last. That's basically the story of what we've witnessed here. But yeah, great races between both the top 2 and the bottom 2 fight. And yeah, a great ending from Winky Face, where he took advantage of a bit of the tight line that Spark did, but he ended up scrubbing off a bit too much speed, the Indian player from Antic, whereas Winky Face was able to roll the car all the way through the corner to carry a lot more speed to get him that finish. in first place. In the meantime, Kuda trying to make amends from the previous rounds and currently taking charge as his teammate Spar takes a little bit of a back seat right now, adding into checkpoint number 8, and it will be Winkyface versus Kuda to try and prevent a victory from closing the map on favor of Antic. Right now, Winkyface going side by side with Kuda, taking the lead just before the final checkpoint and before the final plastic corner. Here we go to the signature line of Winkyface. Can he actually try to do something against Kuda? It's going to be close, and it's not going to be enough with a 0.485 courtesy of Kuda and a 0.5 from Winkyface. Those were great times, even more than great, I think. Those are, we've recorded another superlative for that, but it will be a 10-7 scoreline here on map 2 for Antic, who are going to be heading into the third map with 2 jokers in order to actually conclude their matchup.
Yeah, absolutely an insane pace as well. You know, from Kuda, from that one, what a time to pull out a time like that in a very crucial round as well. Honestly, also very big props to Winkyface. I've never seen him be this consistent on any tracks in my recent times when I've seen him play, and I think his average was absolutely insane. He was constantly 58.7, 58.8, and he did like a 58.5 right there as well. So his average on that track is insane. So Luminance definitely a good pick for Restless Black. If you know Red Bolt can get into it as well, you know, could be a very good pick for future matchups as well. But that is then and there. We have now 3-piece by Sophie and Agrabo. And, well, it has to be a reverse sweep. Nothing else that can be done now.
Yeah, absolutely nothing else will suffice. They have to pull back-to-back map wins if they want to force the issue onto Candy Crush, which is our map 5, remember, in case we do come down to that. Round 1 underway, and yeah, I was just looking at the stats you can see at the bottom left of the screen, and I think they do speak for themselves in terms of the consistency of teams compared side by side. Red Bolt and Winkyface both having around 25% or more of crashes, and almost 1 more percentage to be added to that with Winkyface having a sketchy landing at the plastic. Meanwhile, we see Kuda and Spark both having 8% crashes and 33% of top 1, so roughly equal, managing to be there for each other when it matters the most. And currently, Kuda and Spark sitting in first and second place. Winkyface trying his best to keep up with the pack in that very sluggish final sector, and that's going to be a hit with the right rear, courtesy of Spark, that will allow Winkyface to move up into second and Red Bull up to third. As we head through to the finish line, it will be a draw at the end of this round with a 57.133 to kick things off, but Spark retaking third place at the last minute ahead of Red Bull, so it will not be a draw, it will be a victory in favor of Antic Esports. And yeah, that 3-piece, for me, the main thing is going to be that final sector, because it's very unconventional to get third gear dirt. It feels super counterintuitive to drive, especially as someone like me who's more been used to attack dirt turns or dirt sections in fourth gear and try to be used to keep fourth. Here you have to release the throttle and preemptively prevent an upshift. Basically, you try to keep yourself between 215 and 200 kph to be able to keep that third gear for sure.
Yeah, and I saw already a glimpse of something that Winkyface very much loves, a nose slide. You know, man loves his nose slide. Now, if a track has a nose slide, he will whip it out, and he did exactly that, and he actually gained quite a bit on Kuda in the end as well, so it could be something that can be very detrimental. It's not as easy as always, especially with such a low speed, but Winkyface definitely has the mechanics down in order to do so, and especially now with Spark right on his heel, he might whip it out here as well. You can see clap. Oh, right there you can get that quick snap in. Both Spark and Winky went for it. Spark actually had the better of it, much better line to get it done, but Restless Black get the victory on the board, and it's tied on the board. And now it gets a bit interesting. It shows that this track definitely is a lot more technical, and you can see that of one little fumble and it can be pretty much over for the rest of the track. But it does lend itself to opportunities, you know, with, you know, a bit of a touch on the dirt. Can get you back into the track, but with low speeds at least, you know, you don't have to really worry about sketchy wobbly landing by Winky. You don't really have to worry that you fall too far behind, but you might end up in a bit of a gear issue. But if it stays at gear 3, you should be fine.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like this track is one of the great equalizers of this entire AOPL map pack, where everybody, well, Well, the mistakes can be a lot more minimized compared to some tracks that we've witnessed in the past, like Agartha, for instance, where a mistake there is almost pretty much capital punishment in terms of the round times going by. In the meantime, Spark getting the no slide, same for Kuda, who was right in the fight with Winky's face for second place, but it will be an ace for Antic with a 57.080. Courtesy of Spark, just a mere 3/10 away from Min's world record of a .754. And yeah, right now Antic trying to make a little bit of a breakaway run for freedom after some complicated opening 2 rounds, and already a mistake that's going to be making the job a lot easier for Antic as Winky Face barely grazes the wall on the outside of the pre-CP1 dirt sector, and thus will be leaving himself down in 4th place and have to rely on Red Bull to actually make some moves happen and prevent Antic from getting another back-to-back ace, which will be pretty much almost a death sentence guaranteed here at this point, as Kuda and Spark will pounce on any opportunity that arises to get some quick points easy peasy.
It's looking a bit dodgy for Restless Black. I think they're gonna become a bit restless, and you can see Winky Face again, at least in the back end, touches the wall as well. Kuda again also having a no slide, so allows Winky Face to overtake. Red Bolt hits the corner there as well, so Spark is the only one to survive all of this, so he does go out and take first position, but Red Bull still stays ahead. Kuda even had more of a fumble there. I wasn't able to catch what happened to Kuda as well, as Red Bull has a classic comment about the round as well as average APEC round. So, it's the players that say it, not us. So, they know it themselves as well. Kuda again touches the wall, but doesn't do this as much as you would think on this track, as I alluded to before. But it is 7-4. I mean, Restless Black, get an ace on the board. It's all of a sudden an even Steamens. Everything's looking glorious for them, and they don't have to be so restless. Spark now has to chase everybody down. Nobody has a wobbly landing this time around, so actually, 2 players falling to the same hole, and, well, Red Bull gets the better of it, actually, so actually gets away from it. So it's Spark and Winky who have to decide the outcome of the race, who gets the victory, and or maybe a draw, to be honest.
Yeah, I think this one's probably going to be on Winky Face unless he pulls a Red Bolt and messes up the entry and full stop picks into the Apex, but that doesn't happen, so it will be Winky Face taking the win ahead as Spark. Red Bolt should be heading into 3rd place. In fact, let's see what the battle in there. Looking a bit slow, though, on the uphill. I thought Kuda was going to be close enough to make an attack, but no. Kuda finishes half a second down on Red Bolt, so it will be 8-6, a victory for Restless Black that allows them to bridge the gap a teensy tiny bit. Down to 2 points we go of a deficit compared to Antic, but yeah, now the opportunities are going to be even more relished, because now the time is slowly but surely ticking for Restless Black. They do need to get, at the very least, a victory if they want to even the scales, or maybe even an ace if they want to actually take the lead over Antic there and keep themselves within a shot of actually trying to take this at the very least into a 4-game series. We'll make our way through with Kuda and a huge crash, I think, from Winky Face. Yep, exactly. I heard your groan. I was kind of focused with the blue duo up front, who are trying to close this out and said, okay, let's get this over with. We got some other matches to play. We want to take a little bit of a break before we head to our next match. So Kuda and Spark very much tandeming this together, almost within the ghosts of each other. Red Bull's in 3rd place this time. The chicane does not land any victims, but both Red Bull and Kuda having troubles of their own in the subsequent corner, but Kuda comes out the better for wear, and it will be an ace to conclude the map on a score of 11-6 with a .004 from Spark, which is a new personal best for him. Great job on the part of the engine driver from Antic. 11-6 for the blue side. 3-0 overall score for Antic, who take their first dub of the day.
Yeah, well, this track, at least, its name is 3-piece. Yeah, it is 3 pieces of no slide. It should be more of the actual name of the track. There is literally no slide heaven. Now, it does conclude it very much well for Antic Esports. Of course, the scoreline is 3-0, but I will say that definitely, especially the Luminance map, that could have gone either way. It was just where Antic were able to just get it and the final moments as well. But we have to take a look at, maybe we can jump into some other matches, because I do see some are still ongoing. Maybe we will get a bit of an update on what matches we can get into there. And apparently we can go into match number 3 with Restless and DXA Singapore. Apparently is a suggestion here. Let us take a look here. Maybe there is some other matches as well. At least that is the first recommendation at least. It does believe to be 2-0 there as well. Other matches seem to be
Yeah,
2-0 as well.
yeah,
But
but apparently we are witnessing some very close rounds, and I'm on the server, and I can
yep,
attest to that. As yeah, there's some pretty big stuff going on, so I think we should just head straight into it because yeah,
yep.
currently we're in the middle of a round where Careless Cobra manages to take a bit of a lead, but only at the start of the third sector. And just as soon as I say that, as soon as we switch to the game, we both see Starlight and Careless Cobra having troubles of their own.
Oh, what?
Starlight barely makes it through to the finish, and it will be an ace for DXA Singapore, allowing them to retake the lead by 2 points.
Yeah, well, we didn't see it in the previous match. Clearly, the previous match were absolutely a giga chats, but we saw immediately as we arrived, we saw a crash at the finish block. We saw a bounce at the finish block, and we saw a bit of an awkward finish on the finish block. We saw all kinds of variations of the finish block. We didn't see anybody really like fully bonk into it. I saw Winky Face had a few like moments where he just sort of hit the block and crashed into the finish. Oh yeah, that's fine, you know, that works.
Whoa,
As
Spider.
Spider finds the pole very hard as well. Maybe not the best ideal line there, but it is Starlight to take the first helm. And I will say this, like DXA Singapore, when we take a bit of a discussion from the first 3 matches from previous weekend, DXA Singapore definitely were the best surprise as well, and hopefully they can carry this on as well. But looking at the scoreline at the moment, have to do a bit more work, but Starlight, at least for now, is the one to hold out at least for a draw, as Gelva and Careless Cobra, well, Starlight and Spider, well, get the draw, and Careless Cobra and Gelva are the ones at least to take all the equal points. So 4-6, well, Singapore has to get some good points in order to get a first track point.
Yep. And yeah, I just got Kelva that actually congratulated the time from Starlight at 59.1, which is not too shabby actually. I think we should take a bit of credit. We should give him a little bit of credit for that because yeah, that is still a really respectable time to be driven, a low 59 like that. Currently, it is going to be Spider and Starlight heading the round as Careless Cobra is going to be right in the trail of Spider Scar. This time it's going to be Starlight having a little bit of trouble at the convex to platform transition, thus dropping down the P4 and a clip from Kelva. Who saves it. He manages to get away with it, but will lose a lot of time in the subsequent section trying to just salvage the pieces and try to get himself back in the groove, and he will be heading into the checkpoint. So it will be Starlight also grazing the wall with the right rear, and so it will be Spider versus Careless Cobra battling for the lead. Currently firm advantage to Spider with 2/10 of a lead, even 3/10 as we head into the final corner. Careless Cobra adds insult to injury on the side of Restless. White Starlight up the third confirmed, 59.185 for Spider, and it will be map point number 1 on the cards for DXC Singapore there, 8-5.
Yeah, looking at least, you know, well, we didn't see what the first 2 maps were the guess as well, and do emphasize as well, Restless White are the ones who are on 1-2. DXA are on 2 and 1 in the season standing. So technically, you can look at it this way: that Restless White have come here today to not mess about. They need wins in order to get to that top 6 position for playoffs, and if they can take out DXA Singapore, I mean, that is a perfect way to start off the day. That would be a very good opposition to take down, but clearly DXA Singapore have now been like, know what, we want to actually win the game. So now with Careless Cobra still on their heels, so the headache is still not quite gone yet, but Spider and Starlight are trying to hang on. Much better line here. They will have a lot more speed than Careless Cobra, and they're gonna overtake him as well. Good line by Starlight for more exit speed, and with Careless Cobra touching a bit, well, not getting the best line there. I think that is how the story unfolds. Very good times by DXA Singapore as well, and with that they get the track point, and we might be going into a map 5 series as well, and we are really taking the best out of the first matches already today. You know, getting a 3-0 of the one of the best teams as well in the tournament, and then we get treated with this gem as well.
Yeah, this was a pretty solid recommendation. So thanks, Iradium, for the recommendation. Very cool. We we couldn't expect anything more in terms of having that match for breakfast. Anyway, we're going to be heading on to waiting. Okay, this is going to be an interesting map to see. It happens on map 4. So yeah, this is going to be very interesting to see because the start already, it kind of sets the tone, doesn't it? Just a tight slalom before heading into a drop down, which follows then a 90-degree bent grass left-hander where you also have to go through a triangle line of the CP. Yeah, it does announce the color of the map where it can get technical at times, but overall, it seems to be still pretty flowy. I guess it's kind of a hybrid in terms of simplicity for the flow and Shia's for the difficulty. Maybe not as difficult as Shia's, but you get the idea.
Yeah, it definitely is the case. It will be my first time seeing the track in itself as well. And I already have, as a Cam 2 player, already have gripe. Mappers, for the love of God, please stop building triangle checkpoints. It is a nuisance, and you should stop doing that. I know and especially Skyfreak, you know, he's a good mapper, you know, stop building it. Just put we have gate checkpoints, they exist for a reason, you know, come on, people. We can do better in the mapping community. As Careless Cobra hits the wall, maybe not as well, but for the time being, it is at least, well, it is Spider and Starlight to take the lead, and given the scorelines, I mean, if they start off with an ace, I mean, that looks to be a very good material for map 5, I'm not gonna lie, Geek.
Yeah, this is looking pretty dire for now as we head into the final sector, and that corner going from platform to road is very tricky to set up because it's semi-blind. Oh, unfortunate for Starlight to go so wide in the final corner as well. He's gonna have to resort to the safe, and if he can even get there, yeah, he's just gonna take a little bit of a shortcut in there. Remember, these are also rally cars apparently. They're pretty much all-terrain cars at this point in TM.
You good, Geek? A bit of a El Roboto there for a moment. I don't know if that was picked up on the stream as well. We gotta tweak the Geek robot for a moment. I have to quickly adjust the sound there as well. Hopefully all is good on that end. But either way, we'll have to go for the round. It is a draw, kind of an ace given away by DXA Singapore. But as Chad alluded to as well, an average APEC round, we all knew truly and well. But this track definitely shows that it looks very fundamentally easy until it isn't easy. And I'll have to wait a moment as well. He can just quickly let me know if he wants to jump in. Let's quickly give it a check. Microphone over to Geek. Mic check. Oh, there. Seems not quite yet, at least. Seems to be a moment for him. So Spider is quickly out of it as well. So we'll have to wait and see for that one. And it puts, at least at the moment, Restless into an ace position of all things as well. What a time as well. That's a PB by Careless Cobra as well. Yep. Holy moly, that is one hell of a time as well. And we'll have to be there in the moment. So hopefully everything is all good in the hood. We have to wait here to see that.
Hello?
Oh, hello, Geek. Are you there?
Yeah. Had somebody ran over the antenna, so yeah, I don't know what happened there, but yeah, we basically went one round without I couldn't hear you at one point. The sound was completely cut out, and yeah, lost connection.
Yeah, you went full robotic for a moment.
Yeah, I was seeing the game, but I couldn't hear you, and yeah, everything just got cut out at one point. But yeah, anyway, now that we're back in it, Restless White, sorry, taking the ace on round 2, whilst I was having a little bit of trouble with myself, 4-1, and currently DXA Singapore having a lot to do, and a huge slowdown from Starlight. Spider also going a little bit too wide and just hitting the wall on the outside, and it will be another ace gifted on the silver plate for Restless White with a 56.835 and a 0.85 as well, being driven by Careless Cobra just behind him. So yeah, this is looking pretty dire right now for DXA. It does kind of show that it's not exactly their cup of tea, this map.
Yeah, it is interesting indeed, because it started off, looked really well. Both of the players were in ace position, everything looked all hunky-dory, and then all of a sudden everything just went to smithereens in an instance as well. So definitely interesting to see, uh, and it is something when you look at all of these things. Is the fact that DXA Singapore, especially on waiting as well, it was recently updated as well, so the online times are not quite correct. But on every single track, they should have the better end of Restless White, but it seems they just are not here today, at least for the first matchup. I mean, they can still take out a few aces then and there. It's possible, but for now, time being, at least Spider has woken up. Maybe he was stuck doing a few whips, and now he's back in the match and gets at least a draw for Singapore. But they need aces. They need
Yeah,
aces right now.
yeah, there's really no more time to waste at this point for the red side, where they do need to wake up more than that. They do need a back-to-back aces, basically, to pretty much bridge the gap back down to an even score, basically, as we're heading into our next round with match points on the cards there for Restless White. Kelva and Careless Cobra only need to do first and third in order to be able to close that match out with a 3-1 scoreline. Right now, Careless Cobra taking the early lead after sector number 1 compared to Starlight. It's going to be Kelva battling with Spider. Starlight going a little bit wide there through that exit of the double right-hander before the grass, and Careless Cobra just sprinting ahead, completely checking out up front. He's almost 2/10 up on the Starlight Spider duo, and look who's there to try and reap the benefits with that airtime from Spider, condemning the man from DXA Singapore to last place, and that gets followed with a bit of two-wheel time where he loses a ton of time. Kelva as well having a bit of trouble, full stop picking. Spider able to reap the benefits of that to move up into third place to extract at least one more round for DXA Singapore, but we're gonna have to wait until the finish line. Careless Cobra finishing with a 56.7, and indeed it will be a draw, but now the back of DXA is well and truly against the wall. Ace or bust ×2.
Yep, it is all or nothing now. These are the situations where you're gonna, you know what? Send it. We got nothing to really lose at this point, because, well, okay, well, there it is. It's lost. GG. I'm sorry. I tried to build this up, I tried to make it all exciting, and then Spider goes like, you know what? No. I'm not having it. I will win on my terms, caster. I'm not gonna let you build up a fancy story of a true and a welcoming comeback. I'm just gonna say, no, I don't want it. I'm gonna do it in the next match, whoever their opponent might be. So yeah, Starlight, well, he will have brownie points. I mean, if Spider somehow gets into an ace position, I will heat a hat. But I don't think 6 seconds is gonna happen.
Nah, 6 seconds is definitely, it ain't happening, Chief. That is way too much. And yeah, Starlight having messed up the entry to that semi-blind corner, which is very tricky to do because you start off, you drift very early before the checkpoint, and then you head on. You try to actually pitch your car so that you actually get close to the inside wall on the long left-hander, and then you have to snipe at the right time for the 90 right. That ends up on the sausage road. That ends up with you washing out very much out wide at a risk of touching the outside wall. So yeah, very tricky section here in the final sector to get through. And yeah, we've seen many people fall victim to that, and this match, it was no exception. 12-3 for Restless White, 3-1 the overall scoreline for that matchup that we joined. A little bit in the middle of it happening, but yeah, we've been having some great rounds on Luminance. But yeah, unfortunately for them, waiting didn't produce exactly the same kind of closeness and outcomes that we were actually expecting.
Yeah, well, if there's one thing they have to do, they have to be waiting for the next round. That is indeed for sure. But we saw a fair few matchups indeed as well, so that is very nice as well. Overall, we saw Antic Esports take a 3-0 against Restless Black, a lot closer than it is led to believe. But overall, very good result for Antic to take the win on the board. A very crucial win against a top contender as well. And with Restless White taking a very big win against DXA Singapore, and DXA Singapore ruining everybody's pick'ems as usual. They ruined our pick'ems on the first set of matches. They ruined our pick'ems today, and it seems that is what they love to do. How dare they? How dare they? I'm trying to get a good score here, and now I put my support on DXA. Doesn't work.
Doesn't work at all. Yeah, but yeah, just to quickly riff off on the 3-0 scoreline that we witnessed, and yeah, you've told this pretty well. the 3-0 scoreline is a thing in itself, but it only tells half the story. That's pretty much a running theme whenever we actually have 2v2 matchups like this one, or like what we witnessed over the course of the last year in the Trackmania World Tour, where just witnessing the biggest scoreline is, of course, going to be an indicator, kind of an indicator, but really you have to dig deep into the rounds, into the maps, and into the rounds themselves, just to find out how close sometimes some of those matches really, really were. And sometimes it can just be a case of being on the wrong side of the fence when it comes to luck. It can. I know that I've been casting for a team that has been on that wrong side of the fence many, many times, which made victories all the more sweeter to witness, of course. But yeah, it's still something to take note of whenever you actually witness 2v2 matchups like this. And yeah, witnessing 2v2 matchups is going to be what's going to coming up next. Coming up next. Sorry, I'm kind of losing words. Trident Storm versus Restless. What is going to be our next matchup. But before that, we're going to take a quick break just to kind of take a breather from what we've seen, and then after that, we'll get back straight into the game for Playday 5. Stay with us.